A group claiming to be opposed to terrorism says it killed the two ETA men. Sikh leaders in Punjab called a strike which brought the Indian state to a halt. They were campaigning for greater autonomy for Punjab and claim the day-long strike has succeeded in bringing their plight to the attention of the Indian government. In California, the Hughes Aircraft Corporation has unveiled its new Galileo probe, which will make the first trip into the atmosphere of Jupiter. The probe will be launched from a space shuttle and will have a different engine to the ones which failed on two Hughes satellites on the present space shuttle flight. And the space shuttle mission has again run into trouble with equipment failures. It's the fourth time in the 10-day mission that Challenger's equipment has marred operations.
This time it was Challenger's mission. ABC News, New York.
And still to come in this news, the opposition campaigns for the Corangamite by-election, Australia's cricketers settled differences with the ACB, and highlights of the Victorian Open Golf. The federal opposition was in Geelong today campaigning for the Liberal candidate for Corangamite, Mr. Stuart MacArthur. The Liberals are confident of holding the seat vacated by the former Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Tony Street.
Mr. Peacock and Mr. MacArthur spoke on to radio station 3GL, where former Melbourne radio talkback host Dennis Scanlon and listeners had their opportunity to speak with Mr. Peacock. A street walk to greet the shoppers and a meeting with local government representatives followed. Liberal candidate Mr. MacArthur hopes to lift the spirits of the Liberal Party by winning the seat of Corangamite on February 18. Mark Bailey, ABC News.
The Forests Commission has admitted it's had problems controlling logging operations on the Errinundra Plateau in East Gippsland. The Forests Commission's chairman, Dr. Ron Gross, said today a contractor was banned from working in the forest for 1 week after he ignored a commission ban and felled a tree in a gully strip.
The banning of the...
Medicare has handled 150,000 claims in its first week with only minor problems, according to the Health Minister, Dr. Blewett. Speaking in Adelaide today, he said the computer system had worked without a hitch, and processing of some 20,000 direct billing claims had confirmed that checks could be dispatched to doctors within 5 days. A jury in London has ordered one of Rupert Murdoch's newspapers to pay damages of $400,000 to 10 policemen. The jury found the News of the World tried to boost circulation by publishing untrue allegations about the policeman raping, assaulting, and blackmailing a woman. Well, I'll be back in a few moments, but now with today's sporting news, here's Dick Mason.
Thank you, Geoff. The Australian cricket tour of the West Indies is to go ahead as planned. That's all in sport for now. Normally, Geoff Raymond returns at this point, but tonight is his last night with us, and I'm pleased to introduce this tribute to his work.
Geoff Raymond's career in broadcasting has been long and varied. His first major television association was with Channel 7 in Melbourne, where he had a quiz show. He was the channel's chief newsreader in the late 1960s when Harold Holt disappeared.
By Sunday night, any real hopes of finding Mr. Holt alive had faded.
And he showed his versatility during that sad period by moving from the air-conditioned comfort of the studio to the wind-swept beaches of Portsea for live outside broadcast reports.
The frogmen, I see, are able to get into the water now, but lifelines are being very firmly held behind them.
After Channel 7, Geoff did a brief stint in radio before moving on to become the newsreader at what was then Channel O. And then in the early 70s, Geoff moved from Channel O to the ABC. It was while he was here at the ABC that Geoff started wearing a rose in his lapel. It brought an extra touch of colour and warmth to his presentation of even the most serious stories. And it very quickly became an institution, and so much so that Geoff was always in demand to appear at country shows and rose festivals. Geoff's interests were many and varied. He became passionately involved in photography, so involved, in fact, that he was able to mount highly praised one-man exhibitions. Many of his shots were taken overseas, and every year he would host a special tour to the Far East. And while all this was going on, he also managed to fulfill a long-held ambition by buying and running a restaurant. But it was still, of course, as a newsreader that he was best known. The ABC's Victorian manager for TV, Tony Wells, was news editor during much of Geoff's time with the corporation.
Geoff Raymond has given our industry, both the National Broadcasting Service and the commercials, excellent service over a long period of years. He is an outstanding communicator. I've been amazed when I've been in public with Geoff at the genuine warmth with which he is greeted by complete strangers and the way in which he returns the compliment. That's a measure of his professionalism. Geoff is a person of independent views, and I guess I have not always agreed with all his thoughts on broadcasting. But along with those of you who regularly watch ABC television news, I'm going to miss Geoff Raymond and the rose that is his trademark.
Geoff's newsreading brought him many honours. He was no stranger to the podium at the Television Society of Australia Awards or to the Penguin Award for the best newsreader in Australia. He was also a regular recipient of the award for the best and clearest newsreader from the Australian Deafness Council. But to many people, Geoff was more than a newsreader. He was a friend who came into their homes every night. Geoff always tried to return that friendship. Presenting the annual Royal Melbourne Hospital's Grandmother and Grandfather of the Year awards was typical of the kind of engagements he was happy to undertake. And the welcome he received was typical of the affection in which he was held by viewers. For Geoff, retirement is simply going to mean moving on from doing one thing he loves to another. So it's off to Fiji and to his new hotel, Tambour Sands. Good luck, Geoff, and bon voyage.
Well, Geoff, on behalf of all of us here at the ABC and our many, many thousands of viewers, good luck and a very, very great future for you.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Dick. I didn't know that piece was coming at the end of the news, and it's rather floored me. People sort of invited me to do all sorts of outrageous things to finish some 44 years in the media, starting as a copy boy at the Melbourne Herald and going through from radio, and newspapers, and now to television. But I'm afraid at this stage I don't feel like doing anything outrageous at all. I'd just like to hand in my rose, thank everybody that I've been associated with in the medium, particularly the listeners and viewers. Thank you all very much.
Well, it's a pretty hard act to follow that one, Geoff. The best wishes of everybody at Nationwide goes with you, naturally. I noticed you didn't leave any parting instructions for the rose. Perhaps we should auction it and help defray your new mortgage in Fiji. Molly, how are you? You've got another one.
I'd just like to give you this.
Molly, thank you very much indeed.
I had a late news item that a cyclone had wiped out Fiji.
Do you want your rose back, Geoff?
That brings me back to earth now, and I'm back on an even keel, and I'm no longer smelty or anything else about it. Molly, you had me worried for a minute there about a cyclone wiping out Fiji, because I've got a holiday resort over there that you all should come to. I'll get a commercial on the ABC. It's called Tambour Sands, by the way. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Oh, can I make a commercial too? Sorry, Peter. Countdown starts this Sunday night at 6 p.m.
And
sorry,
Peter.
Oh, well, I'm going to do a commercial.
What about Nationwide?
I was just about to auction your rose to defray your new mortgage in Fiji, but it's not necessary. I'll give it to Desley instead.
We'll miss you, believe me.
Thanks, Molly.
It's a sobering thought for me as I pass Mr. Raymond every day that we're doing Countdown, and I think that's the man that can talk for the ABC, and I'm the one that can't.
And he doesn't stutter, does he?
Sorry, Peter.
See you later. Well, I'm going to do a commercial now for Nationwide tonight. We've got an exclusive interview with Prime Minister Bob Hawke from China. Mary Delahunty talked to Mr. Hawke in Peking earlier today, and you'll see that interview tonight. He talks about what he thinks his Asian tour has achieved and what role he sees Australia playing in the region in future. And Mary's also talked to Mrs. Hawke about her impressions of the tour, and that makes interesting viewing. You can see it on Nationwide tonight at 8:15. But now Desley is here, waiting patiently to do the weather, and Desley, I'll give it to you later.
Throw it to me quick, I need it.
Here you go. Oh, well done.
Always like to drop out of sight. I was going to give Geoff a forecast for Fiji today. In fact, there is a cyclone heading that way, and his name's Harvey, sitting over Noumea at the moment, so there might be panic stations. But they had a